The most lopsided battle in the history of aerial combat. This was in 1982, the aerial battle between the Israeli Air Force and Syria in the Bekaa Valley, commonly known as the Bekaa Valley Turkey Shoot. So how did Israel, through weapon innovation coupled with flexible tactics, defeat Syria, which still adhered to tactics from 10 years prior and was not adaptable, and thus changed the rules of aerial combat forever? In 1982, Arab nations, Iraq and Iran, seemingly not very united, were fiercely at war with each other. In the same year, in April, the UK and Argentina were fiercely fighting over the Falklands. The whole international community's focus was on these events. Meanwhile, the relationship between Israel and Egypt had erased, leaving no concerns behind. Israel believed it was time to address the Palestine Liberation Organization in southern Lebanon and another deadly threat hidden by Syria in the area. Syria and Lebanon have a special relationship. The economies and militaries of the two countries are essentially inseparable. However, Syria does not want to confront the powerful Israeli army once again. Israel also gave indications before taking action solely to address the Palestine Liberation Organization issue. It's unrelated to Syria. Syria largely believed this. Therefore, its strategy was to maintain high alert without actively engaging with the Israeli armed forces. Even if the Israeli army were to attack suddenly, they wouldn't fear because they have a mysterious power in the Bekaa Valley. Israel spans over 300 kilometers vertically, and its narrowest horizontally is only several kilometers. The northern part is hilly. The northeast borders Syria's Golan Heights. The northern neighbor is the unstable Lebanon. Its area is less than half of Israel's. The capital, Beirut, is by the Mediterranean. To the east, there are two mountain ranges stretching over 100 kilometers. In between lies the flat Bekaa Valley. A major transportation route from Beirut goes east through the two mountain ranges and the valley, leading to the Syrian capital Damascus. The entire journey is less than 100 kilometers, so if the Israeli forces attacked Lebanon and reached this road, it would have a significant impact on Syria's security. Hence, Syria deployed a force there, a mysterious until that even the U.S. military fears. The Soviet Union assisted Syria in forming its air defense force, equipped with the SAM-6 anti-aircraft missile. This force has always been a thorn in the side of Israel. During the battles in the Golan Heights and the Sinai Peninsula in the 1973 Fourth Middle East War, the Israeli Air Force embarked to strike the Arab League ground forces. However, they were met with the Soviet-made anti-aircraft missile. Several were immediately locked onto and shot down during the first 3 days of the conflict. Israel lost 50 fighter jets. These missiles' sites were like arrow towers built in ancient city defenses. All the crossbows of the Qing dynasty, fast and precise. Those who approach will be unfortunate. You might not even spot it before it strikes from a distance. For the once dominant Israeli Air Force in the Middle East, this was an unprecedented humiliation. Faced with this situation, Israel quickly collaborated with the United States to try and decipher this previously unseen anti-aircraft missile, but to no avail. During the 18-day Fourth Middle East War, 109 Israeli planes were shot down, although only 35 of them were shot down by the SAM-6. The existence of this anti-aircraft missile forced the Israeli fighters to fly at low altitudes, leading them into the radar-guided anti-aircraft artillery net. This resulted in a significant number of fighters' jets being shot down. The SAM-6 anti-aircraft missile was a standout during the Fourth Middle East War. International opinion claimed that missiles had already replaced the planes, becoming the new air-dominating force in modern warfare. International opinion proclaimed missiles have broken the wings of the war eagles. How could the Israeli Air Force swallow this? As soon as the war ended, they immediately began their revenge plan. and across the ocean in the United States. At that time, they often dispatched a large number of aircraft, including the U-2 high-altitude, high-speed reconnaissance planes to scout the Soviet Union. They were also frequently shot down by SAM anti-aircraft missile. This missile was undoubtedly a concern for the United States. To find a solution, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency and Israel turned their eyes to the once dominant Arab world leader, Egypt. For the Israeli Air Force to seek revenge, they had to destroy the Syrian Air Defense's SAM missile battalion. Faced with this never-before-seen anti-aircraft missile, not even knowing its operating principle, where should they start? Neighboring Egypt still had dozens of SAM missile battalions deployed. After the Fourth Middle East War, Egypt sought economic development, actively erasing relations with the Western countries, and began dealing with the United States and Israel. The U.S., seeing the opportunity, sent spies, and after some under-the-table dealings, obtained a complete SAM-6 missile system. After a careful study, they found out that the SAM-6 is an all-weather medium to short-range, low to medium altitude missile system. It has strong anti-jamming capabilities. The whole set of equipment is mounted on mobile vehicles capable of field air defense. This air defense system consists of search radar, fire control radars, missile launchers, and logistical support. Moreover, the search radar and fire control radar are integrated into one. Let's briefly discuss the working principle of this air defense missile system. First, the search radar operates as its name suggests. The search radar is used to search for suspicious targets. It has the characteristics of long detection range and fast search speed. Once a suspicious target appears, via the internally automated computer, the search radar immediately calculates the target's direction, speed, and altitude. If it's confirmed to be an enemy aircraft, the system will instantly send its data to the fire control radar. Why send it to the fire control radar? Because the search radar has a drawback, that is, it can only detect the general direction of the target. The fire control radar compensates for this deficiency. Its search range is small, but its accuracy is high. With the guidance of the search radar, the fire control radar can quickly lock onto the target, calculate its flight trajectory, and then guide the missile launch. During the missile's flight, the fire control radar continuously adjusts the missile's aiming point based on the target's flight data until it hits the target. When the search radar and fire control radar operate, they have specific frequencies, acting as the eyes and ears of the air defense missile. Without them, the air defense missile would lose its target, not even knowing whom to hit. After the U.S. military mastered the working principle of SAM-6, a new electronic jamming device targeting the SAM-6 missile was introduced. The U.S. quickly provided it to Israel. This electronic jamming device from hundreds of kilometers away can turn the radar screen of the SAM air defense system into a snowstorm. To take out the SAM-6, other supporting equipment was also used in conjunction. E2C Hawkeye, this EAW can detect all targets within 480 kilometers. The latest third-generation fighter aircraft, which included the proclaimed strongest fighter jet on Earth, the F-15, and the highly agile F-16, among other new weapons. Airborne anti-radar missile. Didn't we say earlier that the SAM-6 operates at a fixed frequency? And this type of airborne anti-radar missile can precisely lock onto the radar's electronic frequency, and then automatically guide itself towards the radar with a range of 50 kilometers. However, before hitting the target radar, if the radar changes its frequency or shuts down directly, then the missile loses its direction and doesn't know who to hit. electronic jamming devices, E-2C Hawkeye, F-15, F-16, and other latest fighter jets, as well as airborne anti-radar missile, are the combined package that the US and Israel prepared for the SAM-6. By the way, one of the primary objectives of our J-20 stealth killer is to hunt down these airborne early warning and control platforms. The SAM series of anti-aircraft missiles in the Fourth Middle East War gave Syria a taste of success, so Syria was determined to redouble its efforts, constantly reallocating troops to replenish its ground air defense forces until it reached 80,000 personnel and over a span of 10 years spent approximately 50 billion RMB to establish 29 missile battalions in the Bekaa Valley. Some say it was 19 battalions. This vast air defense force still primarily utilized the SAM-6 missiles to rigorously protect the main Syrian forces stationed in Lebanon and the airspace over the capital Damascus within a radius of over 100 kilometers could defend against all aerial targets far and near, high and low. At that time, even the US and the USSR couldn't match this density, and what's unexpected is Syrian warplanes in this direction actually relied on radar guidance from the Bekaa Valley. This means if the ground radar was destroyed, the Air Force would become short-sighted in the sky. Syria invested heavily in building its air defense force, leading to thousands of tanks without crews, probably thinking the Israeli Air Force was too powerful. This strategy should be familiar to those who have played games like Age of Empires. If during the game you only focus on training archers and fire camps, and neglect infantry and cavalry, once the engineer troops' defenses are breached, you cannot continue the battle. Isn't this an unreasonable approach? Both sides have made their strategy adjustments. The battle is about to begin. Israel operates on a universal conscription system. They strike at any neighboring country posing a threat. Syria's significant air defense force is in the Bekaa Valley. It's like a thorn in Israel's side. Israel is determined to remove this thorn. In the year leading up to the offensive, Israel frequently sent drones for reconnaissance over this region. In April 1981, Syria introduced the SAM-6 missiles into the Bekaa Valley. Upon hearing this news, Israel immediately dispatched a drone. As it approached the valley, it was instantly locked onto and taken down by the SAM-6 missile system. However, moments before it was destroyed, the drone managed to transmit data on the new radar system of the SAM-6 missile back to the Israeli Air Force. To further verify this intelligence, Israel sent out another drone equipped with electronic jamming devices into the valley. It evaded two SAM-6 missile attacks and perilously completed its mission. Syria didn't give much importance to this act, but Israel had already obtained several crucial data points. Using this data, Israel conducted numerous bombing simulations at home. They were fully prepared for the battle. This might be a key reason why Middle Eastern countries have struggled against them. After nearly 10 years of preparation, Israel believed the time was right. On June 6, 1982, an Israeli army of 100,000, with 1,500 tanks and a large number of armored vehicles, launched a three-pronged invasion of their northern neighbor Lebanon, claiming to eradicate the Palestine Liberation Organization hidden in this neighboring country. With Air Force cover, the troops advanced rapidly. They covered dozens of kilometers in 2 days. Syria was on high alert, with their armored divisions ready to deploy. Radars closely monitored every move of the Israeli forces. As Israeli forces approached the main transportation route connecting Beirut to Damascus, the Syrians could no longer sit idly on third countries' soil. They directly confronted the Israeli forces. The showdown was inevitable. Israel detects the E-2C Hawkeye with a range of 480 kilometers, stationed over the Mediterranean Sea. There is also a mysterious helicopter, 25 F-15 fighters, 75 F-16 fighters, and a large number of Kerr fighter bombers, F-4E Phantom II and A-4 fighters, hovering over the Mediterranean Sea and gathering over the northern part of Israel. Several reconnaissance drones hover near the Syrian air defense units in the Bekaa Valley. The big battle is imminent. These little guys haven't drawn the attention of the Syrian military at all, because the air defense units at this time are avoiding Israeli missile attacks, have left their shelters and changed positions multiple times. Syria believes it has the invincible SAM-6 air defense missiles directly deployed in the open Bekaa Valley, and it's precisely these little guys that Syria has ignored. Transmitted the reconnaissance information to the E-2C over the Mediterranean. The AEW then commands a swarm of drones disguised as a group of fighters, flying towards the 29 missiles in succession. When the search radar detects a large number of enemy aircraft, Syria thinks it'll finally come. 29 missiles, radar all active. The fire control radar locks onto the targets in seconds, immediately guiding the air defense missiles like a torrential rain, firing in unison at the enemy aircraft. In an instant, the Bekaa Valley sky is filled with lightning and thunder. Israeli drones are destroyed and falling to the ground one after another. There's a sudden cheer in the Syrian military positions. They split into several groups and rush to the crash sites, preparing to capture Israeli pilots alive. When they arrive at the sea, all they see are some plastic products. There are no significant metal materials, let alone pilots. Soldiers immediately report this situation to their superiors. When the commander finds out, is thunderstruck. He curses that he's been fooled. What they just shot down wasn't Israeli fighter jets, but decoy massive drones fitted with surface materials, making radar reflections look like fighter jets. The purpose is to get Syria to turn on its radar. Meanwhile, behind the drone swarm, several reconnaissance drones are following. When the Syrian military radar is turned on, they quickly collect radar frequency data and transmit it to the AEW stationed over the Mediterranean. The AEW then transmits the frequency data to the mysterious helicopter also in the Mediterranean and the F-4E Phantom II fighter aircraft on standby in the air. The Syrian commander realizes he's been tricked and immediately ordered the radar to be turned off. Over the Mediterranean, this mysterious helicopter is the Sea Stallion heavy-lift helicopter provided by the U.S. to Israel, carrying electronic jamming equipment specifically developed for the SAM-6 anti-aircraft missile system radar. Upon receiving radar data from the early warning aircraft, it immediately emits strong electronic jamming. The radar of 29 SAM missiles battalion instantly show nothing but static. They can't see anything at all. 26 F-4E Phantom fighter jets carrying a large number of anti-radar missiles preloaded with radar wave data coming rushing forward, launching outside the range of SAM anti-aircraft missiles. Instantly, the Bekaa Valley was engulfed in flames. The radars of Series 29 missile battalions were destroyed. Without radar, the anti-aircraft missiles could only serve as decorations on the battlefield. Even if Syria just needed to replace one set of radars, the defense missiles could retaliate, but the Israeli Air Force didn't give them any chance. 2 minutes later, a second wave of 92 Israeli fighter jets attacked, accompanied by the outstanding F-15 and the F-16 fighters, F-4E Phantom fighter jets, A-4 Skyhawk jets, and the Kerr combat bombers, carrying conventional bombs and high-speed bombs, intensively bombed the missile. Instantly, a sea of flames arose. Series 29 SAM missile battalions, painstakingly built over 10 years, were torn apart like prey, were completely destroyed in a 6-minute bombardment. Originally, the Syrian Air Force patrolled the skies over the Bekaa Valley with a large number of fighter jets on standby, but due to the last war, many of their own jets were hit by their SAM anti-aircraft missiles. So when Israeli drones attacked this time, the commander immediately recalled the fighter jets in the air. The SAM missile bases suffered a devastating blow. 20 minutes later, the Syrian Air Force urgently took off from various locations with about 60 planes, second-generation MiG-21, MiG-23 fighters, preparing to engage with the Israeli Air Force third-generation F-15 and F-16 fighters in aerial combat. This will be in the history of aerial warfare, the largest jet plane air battle, due to the hurried takeoff of the Syrian Air Force. The pilots did not have time to receive defense instructions about enemy aircraft and specific mission instructions. They rushed to the battlefield. The radar here was destroyed. They rely on more distant ground radars for navigation. Syrian warplanes hurriedly flew towards the Bekaa Valley in southern Lebanon. Israeli warplanes had already withdrawn. Waiting for them were the Seahorse heavy helicopters over the Mediterranean, continuously jamming Syrian radars. This was fatal for Syrian fighters that relied on ground radar guidance. Without stable ground guidance, the onboard radars of the fighter planes could only detect forward and had a short detection range. Syrian warplanes had no idea where the enemy planes were, while the AEW stationed over the Mediterranean had a complete understanding of the battlefield situation, calculating well for Syria. When the warplanes would fly over this area in southern Lebanon, the AWACS directed about 19 Israeli F-15 and F-16s to fly at ultra-low altitudes in the valleys, ambushing below the flight path of the Syrian planes between the valleys, navigating through the low valleys, besides eluding detection from Syrian warplanes, whose radars could only scan a hand. They can also use the terrain to avoid being detected by ground radar. The battle situation instantly turned into a flight of information asymmetry. The Syrian fighters are like driving on a highway in dense fog. They can't see anything, whereas Israeli early warning aircraft sees them clearly as if having an unfair advantage. Now, thousands of meters up in the sky, Syrian fighters are searching for enemy aircraft. They flew into an ambush. The Israeli Air Force, 4 Israeli jets form a squadron, rapidly rising from beneath the Syrian fighters. They target the Syrian fighters from behind, utilizing extreme speed. They quickly unleash firepower on the Syrian fleet. Air-to-air missiles hit their targets one after another by the time the Syrian fleet reacts. Israeli F-15s and F-16s use their superior agility to maneuver, and maneuver again. shaking off the enemy just like that. Every time 4 Israeli jets form a squadron, they attack, and within half an hour, half of the 60 Syrian fighters are shot down, while not a single Israeli jet is damaged. Air superiority falls into Israel's hands. This result shocks both warring parties and the whole world. Israeli Air Force pilots are world class, everyone knows it, but who would have thought they could down 30 enemy jets without any losses? Who could have imagined? What's even more surprising is Syria having spent 15 billion and having painstakingly built up a SAM missile systems over a decade, had them destroyed in just 6 minutes and lost 30 aircraft. With an indomitable spirit, they vowed to turn the tide at all costs. The next day, Syrian armored divisions are in the Bekaa Valley, engaging in a massive tank battle with Israel's right-wing army. For the next 2 days, the Air Force continuously combat Israel's fighters, aiming to regain air supremacy, and ends up losing another 55 planes. Israel once again claims no losses. In 3 days, the aerial score stands at 85 versus 0. This battle has solidified the reputation of the American-made F-16 fighter. Up to now, it has become the most widely used fighter jet globally, exceeding over 4,000 units. Although there were doubts about this outcome after the war, with many voices questioning it, evidence from various sources shows that Israel's Air Force also lost a dozen aircraft. 85 versus 0 is a lie. But in this battle, the exceptional performance of Israel Air Force indeed amazed the world. Syria continued the strategy from over a decade ago, mainly relying on air defense missiles and coordinating with the Air Force, focusing mainly on defensive strategy, while Israel's strategy was offensive, seeking new ways to change the rules of warfare. With the help of the United States, they established an air combat system led by early warning aircraft, capable of real-time capture of enemy situations on the battlefield. With this eye in the sky provided by the early warning aircraft, commanding one's troops becomes like playing a video game, constantly watching the changes of both enemy and ally. Hence, the battlefield is complex and ever-changing.